since it's upright, I'll actually. Got it. I am I'm a traveler, and I'm sorry, Mr. Camera Guy. You don't need to get me. Yes, hear me. You'll know my presence. I have to ask, this is not the first time we've done this, who catches the reference to only the shadow knows? Okay. Yay, thank God. I'm the person who likes to use schmaltzy titles in presentations. And I can hit it about 50% of the time, or I'll get about 10% of the audience. But this is the one that more people know than anything else. I'm so pleased, we're so pleased to be here. And so most of you, a lot of you we don't know, so we kind of wanted to introduce ourselves.
Unlike last night at the end of the dinner, we are
Right.
sober now.
This is Juli Campagna. This is her picture in her at Hofstra's website. I think it's a little too much cleavage, but that's just me.
New York, you know, they don't have those Midwestern.
I didn't even choose a picture that I have at school. I wanted something a little casual. So that's me. I'm a satyr. I'm a typical satyr. How we started, how this all came about. We noticed that, because we've heard it too many times, that what students thought a typical lawyer was my hero, Denny Crane. I would love to be Denny Crane. I would love to win every case, and it would all go to trial, and I'd win every trial that I had. Love to. Doesn't happen, but like to do it. So we ran against a bunch of false impressions from TV shows. One, that you file a lawsuit in the morning and you try it at 2 o'clock, we'll break for lunch and then we'll have opening statements. And the jury is always picked. Love it. You know, it's like the jury. Two, every lawyer is a trial attorney. There's no such creature as a transactional attorney. There is no such person as probate, or maybe, I mean, the last family law attorney that I saw on TV was back in LA Law days. I don't know if anybody remembers that. But everybody's a litigator. Juries hear every aspect of the law. I'm bringing a motion to dismiss. Well, let's impanel a jury. Never got it. But I was seeing it on TV. Get the biggest kick out of it. All cases are tried. Nobody sells. And certainly cases aren't disposed of by some form of dispositive motion or because of attorney misconduct or whatever. You don't have time to get rid of the case because you file it in the morning and you try it again. Lawyers don't write. We just try. We talk. We convince. We talk to those 12 people. We get them to go, yeah, she's right. Lawyers never spend time in a little thing here in a library. We don't know what that place is. We've never used it before because, of course, we don't write, so we don't need to research. It's just icky. How the idea came up. Sorry, I'm going to tell a little story. 3 years ago, I had a student who was a forensic accountant. And she came up to me and said, do you think, as a lawyer, my talents as a forensic accountant might be used? I'm like, so I said, are you interested in commercial law or something? She says, you're going to laugh when I say this, but I think I'm interested in family law. Do you think someone with a forensic accounting background would have some value in family law? I'm like, oh, God. So one of my dear friends was, at the time, a family law attorney. Now she's a judge. I said, can she shadow you? Can she see what a typical morning is like? Can she understand not only how much writing you do, but also like how her talents in the financial world will help as a family law attorney? And she did. Absolutely loved it. Spent some time with my friend. The next summer I had another friend who was a domestic relations judge. She externed for her. My friend had a wonderful program with pro se litigants where her staff would act as mediators for them. So she, as a 1L going into her second year, got to learn more about what family law is about, and actually got to act as a mediator near the end of the summer after she was properly trained. Great experience. She's graduating this May. She already has 5 offers from some relatively large family law firms. Trust me, where we come from, that's not typical by any stretch of the imagination. But it's because these 2 people that she worked with introduced her to people in the community, introduced her to different sections of the bar associations, and talked about what a great job she did. Oh yeah, by the way, she's a forensic accountant. People's mouths just watered. So it was very beneficial, and I thought, wow, works for her. She's a forensic accountant. She'd been out in the real world. She didn't understand the benefits of this. I think it'll work for someone who's 22 and has no idea what lawyers really do, other than what they see on The Good Wife. Or my personal favorite right now, Drop Dead Diva. I don't know if anybody watches that, but I love that show. Sorry. Our focus. We really want students to know what lawyers do. That's the best way to actually, if you want to talk about like practical lawyer skills, our director, Anthony Newbicki, I love this story. Got out of law school, goes to work at a big firm, and they say, draft these interrogatories. He's like, what's an interrogatory? I had no idea what they were, because he hadn't seen them. They don't have them. I mean, yes, you talk about them in civil procedure, but you don't draft them. Or not in every class. You're doing mine, you have to. But not in every other civil procedure class. So this is one way that you can find out what it's like to go from law school into the real world. Get to interact with other people in the legal world. It's not just lawyers. There are assistants, there are judges, there's opposing counsel, there's receivers, there's people within different agencies. You get to find out what your role is in this entire picture. Networking, figured that one. We're going to talk a little bit later about ethics and professionalism and mentors. Those were 2 things I didn't see initially. They've only been added benefits to this project as things have continued and only gotten better. I'm going to let Jules take over from here.
Okay. I'd just like to clarify that I'm not doing a whole lot of this right now because I just started working last year in New York, and I applied too late for admission, even though I practiced more than the requisite number of years, but I hadn't practiced for 2.5 years instead of 2. So anyway, I'll quit complaining about New York, but I do have, and I did transfer pricing and practice, so you can imagine how easy the bar would be for me. But anyway, I have now been able to start this with some attorneys who had the bad luck of watching my students' oral arguments last year. Now they've been brought into part of the mini shadow program that I have in the Shadows of Posture right now that I'm hoping will grow. And I certainly did this with Mayor when I was at John Marshall. Okay, so how is shadowing different from an internship or an externship? It can just be a morning. The practitioner does not have to in any way commit to a whole long period or worry what he's going to do with the kid or anything like that. It can just be for a day, really a part of the day. And, or sometimes, I had one very nice guy in Hempstead who actually liked the young person and brought the student back for a second day, not for a whole externship. So they get to see, it doesn't, the commitment on both parts is not huge. And it gives them an idea, and I think it also is very good because it gives them an idea for what they might even want to extern or intern for. Because I have a lot of students who are 22 and have not, I call it the plague of the unpaid externship. That's all they've had in undergrad. And so who's going to critique them, when they're not paying them? They can't. And so they have never really done what I would call grown-up work. And so this at least is a little taste of it. And so I think that it, and as we have up here too, it's a nice step before even choosing an externship or an internship. And if they go on an externship or internship interview, since those are even hard to get now, they can tell the firms or the government offices, oh, I shadowed. So for me, and I had several students last year, it was very helpful for them, who were of the traditional age and had no work experience. It was literally only a couple, but I'm hoping to beef it up, 2 who actually got the externship because everybody involved were all the same, no work experience, and so those 2 got it. And they were, I mean, I think a B is a good grade, but since there apparently is only A on the planet, they were not A students, and but they were B students, and these 2 got it over the control, what became the control. So they also get to see what lawyers really do, all the things we've been talking about at this conference, and this excellent conference. And for myself, when I was in Chicago, and I was able to put them with some people who don't litigate, because really Mary is I always say, I have litigating friends. And
we did a pro bono case together. It was the first time she'd ever filed an additional appearance or appearance of any sort. She comes back, she says, can I frame this?
I was just like, oh my God. I was terrified to even talk to the judge, because at my age, that it would be my first, time. But I'm just afraid that now the intersection of customs and tax doesn't bring me into Cook County Court that much. It was a lot of fun. And so they get to see what they really do, and they also see that, which I also happen to bring a lot into my regular legal writing, the way I teach it. But for students who are still in the classrooms where they're doing all these long memos, they can see that there are shorter memos, lawyers, what are they sitting down and doing, and it convinces them also that they're going to have to write. They're simply going to have to write, and because they're just going to see people writing. They also get a chance to look at some transactional documents. That's a little harder. Well, this would litigation be. I had to set it up with people to make sure that the client's names were not,
That is the toughest.
Yeah.
Litigation, family law, bankruptcy, anything else relatively easy. Well, bankruptcy a little bit difficult. Transactional work is the hardest because there is such a close tie to the attorney and client work. But we've found ways around it.
Yeah. No, it can be done. No. And also regulatory filings. I had someone go to the Illinois Secretary of State for the moment. I'm always telling my students, since I was in tax work, and I was like the PLR queen, and because I could write and do taxes, and but I wasn't a CPA, so that's where they put me in. And so I tell them, you'll be doing a lot of writing that has nothing to do, trying to get your deals blessed, a Hart-Scott-Rodino, some kind of customs opinion, PLR, no action. I used to write all those things, and so.
I didn't know what they were before I met you.
And so they can see that there's other kinds of also, agency writing, which is so important, and that, all of the state and federal agencies are filled with attorneys. There's all kinds of other compliance work. One of them went out to work at my girlfriend who works in-house, who's a customs broker and a trade lawyer, spent the morning with her, and they were like, oh, what about that? They had never thought about it, or even I was always telling them, Foreign Products is in Westchester. Foreign Products is in Westchester. And so now they have, a different idea about some places to go to work. Okay, same old thing, interacting with people. And with me, a lot of it is interacting with kind of lawyers that I know about, just because I think a lot of them, unless they come, I have a couple of CPAs, they're already. One of them is on leave from KPMG who's paying his tuition. That's a whole different group of people. But for those who haven't thought about it yet, they might find they don't want to go into litigation, and even the government's not hiring right now. So I really push them a lot into thinking about compliance work. Think about the Foreign Pro Practices Act. They're always looking for people at this. So lots of work for lawyers in export law. Since you even have to file to say you don't need to file. And then they wonder why Americans don't export. But it's great for us, it's plenty of hours. And so it gives them a real idea, like staff and legal vendors, for example. I'm just, even in class, say, do you know who Iron Mountain is? They're always, sitting outside our law school. Have you ever heard of them? CSC, CT, some smart guys who decided not to practice and build this big company. So that they get to know just sort of the language of stuff. So if they go on an interview, they can talk with people. especially the ones who have.
Sound smart.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you know, if somebody has, you know, 3 young people who don't have any background, as I said, you know, it's a little off ladder for them, especially in these very tough times.
Okay, now this was my slide. Sorry, I have to explain this. People think a lot of times that lawyers try cases, and when they don't try cases, then they have the office party, which is what they had at Boston Legal. There always was. We tried a case, we won. Let's have a huge party.
Nobody goes back and does a closing binder
Right.
or something. That never happened.
We don't even do a fist pump, like if something happens. So that's one thing we wanted to try and get across. Like, people are like, well, that's your job. You just did your job. Move on.
One other thing that I think is very, very, very useful for anybody, but especially students who haven't worked or haven't worked in offices, is that, you know, law school, the hairy hand and all those cases, the dormant commerce clause, long made sleep, is that with the stuff they read in law school, they're like, what is this? I didn't, you know, they're naturally they're bummed out. You go into torts class, you get so, oh, there's a great medieval case for you. And so a lot of my students first semester, they're like, I didn't think it would be like this. I said, oh, is that the great, yeah, is that the great 19th century, you know, damages case? And so they get to see that although they have to read the hairy hand like we all did, it's a popular case, they know that there's something beyond that. And they get to see it right away, because a lot of them get depressed that first semester.
Yeah, the rule against perpetuities.
Yeah, I love that rule. I've written 1,000 wills if I've ever written one, but I use it all the time. So, but besides that, you know, just that they see, in case they're depressed, reading these 18th and 19th century cases, and they see, no, there's something beyond. You know,
There's light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah. Actually, this is what you signed on to. You may not even know this, but this is what you signed on to.
Yeah.
It's an easy thing, like how it works is, it's a great way also to use different parts of your law school. I happen to have been a practitioner in the greater Chicago area for 20 years, so I knew people in a lot of different areas. So for me, it wasn't that tough, but even if I didn't, we have our career services office, which have a whole list of where alumni are. We have an alumni section. Again, they know where people are at. And with the exception of transactional work, I have never had an attorney say no when it comes to, can my student shadow you? And again, with the transactional, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It can be done.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't want to interrupt you, and you're waiting for questions, but is this a 1L?
I do this first semester.
So this is the 1L, first semester 1L?
Right, it's part of my lawyering skills class. It is not graded, but and we're going to talk about this in a second, the writing aspect of it is, I put them in contact with an attorney. They have to have an introductory letter or email. Then they shadow the attorney. They have to draft a page document to tell me what that drafting is like. And I have a couple of examples over there. And then they have to, of course, send a thank you to it. And the nice thing is I also work with our career services office. They get an opportunity to talk about professionalism for about 15 minutes. And it's, you know, and I get to scare my students a little bit too, because I said, listen, I know most of these attorneys are personal friends of mine. If you do something that I've helped, and this is true, I've helped a number of students find jobs at the law school, once they've graduated from law school or while they're in law school. But if you embarrass me, you're dead to me, and I will not lift a finger to help you find a job. So, fill in blank. And with the exception of one person this semester who decided to send his emails in text speak, my teacher's making me do this, can you meet with me? I have never had a student do anything other than be exceptionally professional, learn a lot from this, and I've never had a student not make a connection of some sort with an attorney. Like I said, attorneys are generally flattered to help. Really? Yeah, that's great. I'd love to do that. Like I said, talks about different things. Initial contact, dress, behavior, demeanor, post-shadowing, professionalism, ethics. It's all rolled into everything that we're supposed to be doing. We have all heard a million times from Carnegie and McRae, best practices. It's all rolled into one assignment. That's not graded. Like I said, writing. This was one thing, it was an added benefit. Never saw it coming, but happy that it came on. People took on sort of a paternalistic viewpoint over these students. They would help them with what classes to take later in life when they had electives. Let me take you to the Bar Association. Let me introduce you to certain people. I'm not hiring right now a clerk, but my friend, who's also in the business, is. So people have gotten jobs, people have gotten connections from this. And like I said, a lot of these people, I've been doing this for about 2.5 years now, they've stuck very closely with the people that they've mentored.
Can I just say one thing there?
Please.
One benefit that I didn't expect at all is that the attorneys and these guys I've met in New York who are my pilot group, they have all told the students that they better pay attention in legal writing. They said, that's the most important class, and you better take that class, take all you can, and it naturally means so much more if they say it than, you know, their loser professor. And that's been wonderful. I didn't remotely put them up to it.
Forgot about that one.
And these aren't guys who know, they happen all to be males, but these aren't guys who know me, know each other. This has been just independent statements to them. So it's been very, very good just for promoting the class, because, you know, they all talk to each other, and then they say, oh yeah, this class really is worth something, even if it's only 2 hours and we have to do too much work for 2 hours, or whatever the calculation is.
Yeah. But this was, Julie and I have done this presentation a couple of times. This is our farewell tour. So we were going to end by singing like the Weary Dream Girls, and then kind of walk out. That's too much. A couple of minutes for questions for Melissa, for Julie, for me.